So the next topic is do's and don'ts. So if people ask you, should I do this or not? Some of the things that you need to realize is that sometimes you may have one opinion, or you may have been raised with one opinion, and that may be a better opinion, that may be a safer opinion, that may be a more conservative opinion. That does not mean that there aren't any other valid opinions. And this can be helpful, especially when you're dealing with new Muslim and they're not, willing to go that extra mile. So some of the things where there is a valid difference of opinion, you can tell them that, look, if you can do it, something as simple as circumcision, right? If you can do it, that's great. But if you don't do it, then it's not something that's agreed upon haram. It's not something that's agreed upon impermissible, as an example. So make sure that you know the rulings and you know the different variations in that. And most importantly, understand their commitment level. So if someone is already struggling with, 5 daily prayers, or struggling with the Jummah prayer, and you want them to leave their non-Muslim wife or non-Muslim girlfriend, that may not be very easy to do. So make sure that you're prioritizing and you're not making them feel that, oh, the whole 90% of your life is all based on haram, right? Because then they will say, well, what's the point? So you want to develop and make sure they can even do this easy stuff and not then start worrying about something that's even like a bigger thing for them. And so here are some resources that I have captured for you that kind of covers, for example, Amja Online is a body of jurists, fuqaha from the North American perspective, and they have given opinions specifically related to new Muslims. And there's other important information there, so you can always take a look at that. Obviously, remember harms versus benefits. So sometimes, for example, you want to help the person understand that, look, the right thing to do would be this. Okay, now whether it be like, leaving your girlfriend, or, getting out of a haram marriage, if that you have been in for a year and nothing is happening, the wife is not changing, husband is not changing. But you need to understand if you're willing to do that or not. You need to be able to understand, for example, if someone say, okay, you know what, I'm just going to break up with my girlfriend or husband, and they're already very weak in faith, obviously you'll feel some sort of a pain. But if you're not willing to sacrifice and be patient for the sake of Allah, and that would result in you totally giving up on religion, then that's not a good situation to be in. So when you are taking those bigger steps, it's something that you need to understand, like meaning the convert needs to understand, and you can just advise them, you can guide them, but it's their decision at the end of the day. And we need to minimize the harm and maximize the good. So common pitfalls that happen, from a coach's perspective are as follows. As I mentioned earlier, coaches being too passive. Okay, you know what, I don't want to push. See, again, it's a spectrum, right? So you don't want to be too passive and you don't want to be too pushy. I think I talked about this earlier. So make sure that you understand that. Some coaches are like, oh, I'm just there as a friend. Are you? So that's why in the first relationship, we are saying that, look, you have figured out that path for success. I'm here to make sure that, as a brother, as a sister, to make sure that you're encouraged, you're challenged, and you're growing in your religion. From a revert side, again, they may be aiming for perfection, whether it be technical perfection, oh, I can't pronounce it, so I shouldn't pray. Some of the reverts would be like, oh, I'm doing certain sins, like drinking or not praying, or I'm missing my Fajr prayer. Well, so if you're missing things, if you're uncompliant or non-compliant in certain areas, that does not mean that you have to be non-compliant in every other area. So something is better than nothing concept. I use the example of, workouts and physical fitness. So if you have a bad day and you ate improperly, you overate, that doesn't mean that you shouldn't exercise. If you can't do a proper exercise, it doesn't mean that you should not exercise at all. If you can't do a workout, do a 10 minutes walk, just do something so that you will build that momentum and you will catch up. And, sometimes they would obviously feel a lack of validation because everybody around them is non-Muslim. So make sure that they are surrounded with good Muslims. They can make friends and they can have people who have the like mindset, who they can enjoy hanging out with, but they're also Muslims and they pray and so on and so forth. And then some of the other common pitfalls from a revert perspective is they're plugged into too many WhatsApp groups or Facebook groups or Googling for things. So that can just cause a lot of distractions, a lot of wrong information, and would just like make it very inefficient for them to grow. So keep it simple, follow one teacher that you trust on. You don't need to basically go and find every detail of a small ruling. Should you put your hands here or down? Your prayer is still valid. So find one teacher that you trust in, and then you can follow them. So instead of like diving deep into figuring out which opinions is stronger, you may not have that time or energy or resources for that. So keep it simple for yourself. Don't make it harder for yourself. Ask Allah for help. Ask Allah to connect you with the right opinions, with the right people, and so on and so forth. And not every difference of opinion is super important for you to reach a conclusion on, because you can, again, do something based on what's accessible to you, who is your teacher, and so on and so forth. So these are some other personal development and goal setting you can use that we will talk about next week in personal development using other systems like Trello and whatnot. And that's really, really extra, right? If you want to go that extra mile, if your new Muslim is interested, and so on and so forth. So basically, yes, alhamdulillah, this covers our module 5, and we'll open it up for questions and until we actually get, disconnected from Zoom. And then we have our last session, which is next week, where we'll be talking about personal development and things like that. We'll also go through our New Muslim Success Manual next week, inshallah, to walk you through what it has. So let's take some questions. If there are no questions, then I'll probably start walking you through the New Muslim Success Manual.